Welcome to The Beam, where curiosity stirs conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. Here we bring you the issues that matter, the voices that challenge, and the insights that inspire. I'm Sunas Nathaniel. Today we're speaking about a symbol of what it means to disappear without a trace in a so-called democracy. Again, we are asking the question, where is Dadiyata? Where is the accountability and where is the outrage? Dadiyata was taken from his home a few years ago. An activist, a lecturer, a voice on social media, gone. No suspects, no answer, just silence. He is one of the many who has been lost to the deafening silence. And in that silence, the question have grown louder. How dangerous is digital dissent? Is Nigeria safe for those who dare to speak the truth? What is the price for bravery? And what are the dividends of cowardice? When will Nigeria be cured of indifference and collective amnesia? What happens when a voice like Dadiyata is swallowed and we all move on as if nothing happened? Joining me to unpack this troubling silence and the wider implication of dissent in digital Nigeria are Awal Ibrahim Musa Rafsanjani, Executive Director of Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, Board of Trustee Chairman, Amnesty International, and he's also part of the Transparency International Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken. We also have joining us via Zoom, Barrister Effiong Inibe, who's a fearless human rights lawyer who has repeatedly taken on the state in various matters for freedom and justice. And finally, we also have via Zoom, Elvis Akbobi, Executive Director of the Not Too Young to Lead, Amplifying Youth Voices, where it matters. Gentlemen, you're welcome to The Beam.
Thank you.
All right, let us get straight into the issue of the day. My first question will begin where the whole silence began. You know, the night that Dadiyata disappeared, years ago, no trace. What does this silence say about justice system and our security agencies, you know, and our collective memory, the amnesia, the collective memory of Nigerians? Let me begin with you, Mr. Rafsanjani. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. And this is really a very disheartening, development in Nigeria, as human rights is no longer respected, and even freedom of expression, freedom of speech is seriously under attack. Under our constitutional democracy, Nigerians have the right to express their views in a very non-violent manner, and therefore this should not be rewarded by disappearance, brutality, repression, oppression, simply because you have expressed your constitutional right to show your displeasure on bad governance, corruption, poverty, insecurity, lack of social amenity in the country. And that's what exactly Dadiyata was talking about. And instead of the authority to listen to those very important concerns that affect Nigerians, some overzealous, so-called unknown people disappeared with him. And this is 7 years now. Amnesty International has been at the forefront calling, for investigation and actually getting him back to his families. Because since then, nothing has happened, both at the state and the national level. Everybody appears to be quiet, only making empty promises that they will do something about it. I think this is really a very dangerous situation that we are facing in the country, simply because you oppose certain, policies and programs, then you will now be made to disappear or be killed or be arrested, like we've seen in many instances where people express their opinion. The next thing is they get some overzealous security official to arrest them, and nobody will hear about them. I think there are a number of cases in Nigeria that is really, threatening to our freedom in this country. Even recently, there's another gentleman, Sultan, who was, also abducted, arrested, and all sort of fraudulent charges were, put on him. simply because they have used their platform to express their opinion about how they feel bad governance, corruption, and human rights abuses are actually undermining our existence in this country.
All right.
So government must know that this repression and oppression and denial of the right for Nigerians is not going to help matter. It will only escalate people's anger and frustration. So it is important that government do everything possible to find this gentleman. We cannot continue to see Nigerians disappearing just like that simply because they express their opinion.
All right. Let's hold you there. It's a very good place to start off. Let's go to you, Mr. Akbobi. What kind of psychological effect, does this kind of enforced disappearance, what kind of effect does it have on young Nigerians who are willing to speak up, those who are fearless? Does it send panic? Does it send fear? What does it do to civic duties and civic responsibilities when it comes to a nation like this?
Yeah, it has cases like this have a very negative ripple effect on people, young people who really want to amplify the muted voices of other young people. I have this very close ally, Hamzat Lawal, who's the CEO of Connected Development, and has in the last decade, amplified the muted voices of other people, and is a globally renowned activist that is working. Who's doing issues around accountability and all that. You see, it's not really an easy terrain as a Nigerian activist. But one thing that I think that is key again is I think we should leverage on the fact that the present president was once an activist, and I'm not sure in his journey or his metamorphosis journey, he was either weeks like Dada. The case of Dada, like he wasn't seen for a very long time. I'm not sure he experienced that. So I want to seize this platform to, talk to the president to look into the issue of the activists that has been missing for a very long time. Why I want to also encourage other activists to keep the fire burning. Just a few days ago, I have Charity They Say Begins at Home. I have this close friend called Israel Joe, who I saw on a social media platform where he talked about several attempts on his life. And issues like that dampens the enthusiasm of activism, most among young people. But let's not forget, too, that activism, advocacy, these are ingredients of democracy. Without these issues, democracy will not thrive. So I think policymakers, those who've contracted governance to with our votes, should look into these issues like this, because we live in a time of calling out. The most powerful office, as far as I'm concerned, is that of the citizens. And when the promises you've made during electioneering, and when policies are not beneficial to the people who contracted governance to you with their votes, they will call out. And that's where activists, like the likes of Hamzat Lawal, likes of Israel Joe, and others come into place. Another thing I noticed that is key again is there's a very unfortunate trend. I have some activists that are now in privileged position. It seems as if the office is making them muted. I think that spirit of activism should still be burning. I wouldn't want to mention on this platform, but we're looking forward to young people, young activists that have been given privileges of office privilege to continue to burn that fire, to keep that fire burning. We had a lot of activists in Goodluck Jonathan, ex-president Goodluck Jonathan's tenure, who young people take to best. But today, it seems as if they were given the privilege to lead, to make policies. It seems as if they are muted. For me, it's not too good.
All right.
For our country, it's not too good. That's not what activism should be about. You must call out, but whatever you're doing, you should diplomatically, but it shouldn't. That you being given a privilege should not keep you muted.
All right, let's go to Mr. Rafsanjani. You have won for several years, about how the civic space is shrinking, and with cases like Dadiyata's case unresolved, what message, is being sent to activists who are really pushing for a better society? The whistleblowers, the journalists, the everyday citizen. What does it send to them? What message does it pass to them, especially as we go into another very crucial election period? What does it do?
So actually, corrupt people and people who like to abuse the right of Nigerians, they are always worried about the ability and the capacity of the activists to mobilize and amplify issues of good governance, anti-corruption, and the kind of intensity of violence that Nigerians are facing, and the outright collapse of even our national value system in governance. A situation whereby people purchase public office just to, harness and steal public resources, and you expect Nigerians to keep quiet. That definitely will not work. And sometimes they also, don't want to be held to account. So when people are demanding for accountability, they get furious, they get angry, and they deploy all sorts of tactics to actually silence them. Again, sometimes dubiously they misuse the word national interest. National interest is completely misplaced in the context in which this repression and abuses of human rights are going on in Nigeria. Because when you look at national interest, basically national interest is talking about how to protect the country from external, and from terrorism, from also border infiltration. National interest is about ensuring that the economy is stabilized, that it is about actually ensuring that the country, resources are actually put into better use, and also ensure that trade and investment, as well as acquisition of resources for the betterment of the country and the people. This is part of what is national interest is all about. National interest is also about, of course, ideology of, of
This is
the
my guest
nation.
back.
You have a political system that you can actually even go, like you see in other countries, like in the US, you have some, arms of political parties coming. In the Europe, you have them, Able Foundation, Harrisburg Foundation, propagating their ideology, to ensure that at global level they are able to be understood and they transform that kind of thing. But in the case of Nigeria, when they talk about national interest, is the worry and fear that some people will expose corruption, will expose deviousness, will expose human rights abuses. So they hide under national interest. Otherwise, national interest is really about securing the nation, from external, attack, and from border penetration and the stability of the nation, as well as ensuring that you have a stable economy, including ensuring that you did not actually allow dependency to take over the economy. For example, we have a lot of resources in the country, but it's not being used. You have a lot of business called oil thefts that are being done in almost daily basis in this country. These are what is called threat to national security,
Mm.
and the kind of terrorism that you see, terrorism financing using Nigerian financial institution to sponsor terrorists. These are the real threat, not a human rights activist that will now say, okay, protect the right of people, or don't steal money, or do a election that is transparent and accountable. These are what human rights activists are talking about.
All
They
right.
are not threat to government. They are not threat to the Nigerian people, but they are demanding for accountability, for responsible governance, for ensuring that people who did not, deserve to be in the place should not be there. These are all that activists, genuine activists, are talking about.
All right.
And then the role yet is attack, bullying, disappearance, abuses, and all sort of blackmail that you see from the beneficiary of corruption in Nigeria who occupy certain, position at local, state, and national level.
All right.
So we cannot continue to keep quiet. We must, because even if we do not do this, definitely the future generation will not forgive us.
Definitely. All right, you're watching The Beam, where truth meets the pulse of the people and the dialogue meets the duty of today's conversation. We have a very important topic at hand. Make sure you don't go away. Stay with us. Just a break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're still talking Dadiyata's disappearance years after and the silence that has followed while we're on the break. Barrister Inibe joined us, and so let's bring him into this conversation. Barrister, if you're with me, you know firsthand the risk that comes with, confronting power. And the question then becomes, is Nigeria becoming that state where digital speech can just get you secretly punished without anybody saying anything, basically?
Thank you for having me. It is very sad that, and I apologize that I had to speak with you from the car because of the situation I had explained to you earlier. It is very sad that we live in a country currently where the civic space has been militarized. Nigerians are being targeted. Critics of government are being hunted. They are being victimized and persecuted. The case of Dadiyata is one that should evoke the national consciousness in this country. It is one that speaks to the rots, the decay of our institutions, and the general disregard for the fundamental rights of the Nigerian people. That you will have a young man who has a family, a lecturer who was impacting knowledge, simply because he constantly used the social media space, the cyberspace, to hold government accountable, to criticize the powers that be. He just simply disappeared. And 6 years after, the Nigerian state, the Nigerian police, the state security service, the Kaduna state government, the federal government is unable to account for the whereabouts of Dadiyata. And Dadiyata has continued to remain on the front burner of national discourse because some of us cannot simply move on. And you can see what has happened in the last few years where journalists are being targeted, media houses are being targeted, people are being arrested. Now we even have what they call the National Cybercrime Center in Abuja that was established by the Inspector General of Police. One would have thought that their target is cyber criminals or the so-called Yahoo boys. But what you will find is that while they claim that they were establishing it to fight cybercrime, what we have seen is that the National Cybercrime Center is now being used to witch hunt critics of government, to attack people that are spreading dissent on social media. They are constantly inviting bloggers, inviting people for simply airing their views. This is inconsistent with the human rights obligations of Nigeria, both under the United Nations Charter, under the several international protocols, under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and under Chapter 4 of our Constitution. We cannot live in a country where people are not free to express themselves, where instead of focusing on governance, government continues to focus on those who are demanding accountability. This is simply unacceptable. And that is why, as we are even approaching the next election, we must be very vehement in our demand that the clampdown on dissent, the clampdown on democratic voices simply has to stop. We cannot tolerate this because as we speak today, basic good governance is lacking. Nigerians are struggling to feed. People cannot pay for electricity. People cannot even pay for data to access the internet. So internet access is also very problematic today simply because we have a government that does not care for the Nigerian people. And what is their response? When you speak, they come after you. When you speak, they target you. They blacklist you. Now people are even being denied the opportunity to travel. You can see what is going on. Look at the case of Senator Natasha. Simply because she spoke on the floor of the Senate, she wanted to travel, they harass her, and they are now blacklisting several Nigerians, harassing them when they want to travel. We cannot allow this continuous descent into a totalitarian state. We cannot allow Nigeria to model after China, to model after Russia, to model after North Korea, where some people just simply assume and arrogate to themselves the power of supremacy over the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Right. And that is why for us in the human rights community, we are very insistent on this position, that this government has shown absolute disregard for the rights of Nigeria, and it simply cannot continue this way.
All right. I think we have to take that break now. We'll be taking a break right now, and when we return, we'll all right, we can continue then. Let's go back to Mr. Akpobi. Mr. Akpobi, we need to get back to the young people, the young Nigerians, the heroes that they know are being whisked away, the heroes that they know are being taken away. And then the question is, as we go into 2027, what does it say to them when it comes to coming to vote, when it comes to supporting who they really want to support? And if you were in the room with the president, the IGP, and all the military heads, what would you say with regards to this case today?
Firstly, like I said, the incumbent president today is a product of advocacy, is a product of activism, and there were times where we had a roadwork by advocates, elder statesmen on a particular incumbent president, and at that time there was no issue of someone being whisked away. There was no issue of people being threatened, and I'm sure the president knows this, that in a democratic settings like ours, people must air their views. I'll give you an example. Back in my state, we've had issues where people had their views differs from that of the citizens, and we've seen activists come out to call the government out. I don't know, maybe because the governor that's in sync with young people and streetwise, you see him going to giving those activists, those advocates, an opportunity to listen to them and air their view. There's always a middle ground. We started, aside being an aide, I'm a privileged executive director of the Not Too Young to Lead initiative, and today our advocacy for young people, for inclusion, have bettered a lot of young people being on the table where critical decisions are being made. The half of the cabinet in Delta State today is overwhelmed with young people. So what we'll keep advocating for now is young people, not just young people laced with character, capacity, and competence, who knows and feels the pulse of young people. That's the new advocacy. So for me, if I had the opportunity to build the president, I will give him a reminder of how he metamorphosed to where he is, the privilege he enjoyed as an activist. Other young activists should enjoy that privilege.
All right. In 1 minute each, I think, just 1 minute each, I would ask us, how do we cure Nigeria of this collective, amnesia? Let me start with you, Mr. Akwobi. How do we cure Nigeria of just moving on? People just saying, okay, consign me, and they move on. How do we cure that? In 1 minute each, everybody, go ahead.
I think we need to start telling stories and mirroring excellence on how people achieved their aim. For me, we can't mind our business. I don't have any other passport. I just have the Nigeria passport, and I'm proud. In my next life, I want to be in Nigeria because we'll go to the Western world. We enjoy the amenities. But I always tell people that it's both leaders and citizens that bettered what's happening in the Western world. The problem of Nigeria can be solved by Nigerians, but leaders need to know that they need to start, inspiring citizens to want to get involved in anything.
All right.
Yes, and another thing I notice is the fact that because of the plague, the bleakness, people easily forget a lot of issues like this. It's time we sit on the table and put the country right. Both those that are for or for against, we should put national interests first, making our country better first before our personal interests.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Awal, you would have the last 1 minute. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So I think I want to call on the security agencies in particular to prioritize, dealing and securing the country from bandits, terrorists, other, uprising groups that are making life miserable to Nigerians, and make sure that, those are the one that they can actually ensure that they target not human rights activists, not anti-corruption activists, who are asking for good governance, who are asking for improved life condition of Nigerians, who are just simply saying, let's make sure that we have good governance in this country. This cannot be the people that you should target, be repressing, be suppressing and destroying, or even making them to disappear, or even in many instances killing them. Whereas bandits and terrorists are on TikTok, are on social media, challenging the security, provoking them, mocking them, and yet they are not able to do anything. But they will now go and be arresting, people who are non-violent, people who are just simply asking for the right thing to be done. This should be, and we need to prioritize protecting our country.
All right, thank you, Mr. Awal. Thank you, Elvis, for joining us on the program today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that's it on the beam. We're going to be leaving you right now with our top 5 videos of the week. I am Sunes Nathaniel, and as always, we urge you to always stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. Keep beaming your light where it matters most. May this nation continue to rise and flourish. Bye for now.
This week, we'll begin with Countdown with a video from the morning brief, where Charlie Boy asserts that street naming in Lagos should be the least of the government's priority at this time.
Those are not priorities. Whether you name it Charlie Boy or you name it Olumide Bado or whatever, it's neither here or there. What our priority should be is about the 2027 election. Will our vote count?
Coming forth on our list is a clip from Network Africa, where we get a report regarding 5 persons who were killed in Burkina Faso's rebel attack. In third place, we see President Bola Tinubu conferring on the Super Falcons with national honors and awarding $100,000 to each player following their victory at the just concluded WAFCON.
I hereby direct the allocation of 3-bedroom apartments
In second place, we see the victorious Super Falcons arrive in Abuja. Similarly, in first place on our countdown this week, we see the Super Falcons arrive the State House in Abuja, where they present the cup to the president. That's it on our countdown today. Join us next week for more.